Hello, Nats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the DoDcast Postgame, late night DoDcast Postgame here on the East Coast. I'm District on Deck co-editor Ricky Keeler, and what a game tonight at Dodger Stadium, and what another historic performance by Max Scherzer. First 10 outs of the night he gets via strikeout. He gets 14 strikeouts in 7 innings. Nats didn't do much against Brandon McCarthy, but they did just enough in the end. Bullpen did a nice job. Little bit of theatrics at the end between Coda Glover and Yasiel Puig, but that's a lot of fun. And I would say to Yasiel Puig, don't swing a pitch well outside the zone for ball 4. So the Nats find a way to get the win. They get the first 2 games in the series. They've now won 5 series in a row. And I think tomorrow, we'll get into this in a little bit, they go in with house money. And it's very rare you get to go into a start against Clayton Kershaw with house money. But the Nationals got to do that. And it's been really impressive the way they've handled both of these long road trips this year. I mean, you think about the long road trip, remember when they had the trip to Colorado? I think it was Atlanta too in that stretch, the Mets, and they only lost a couple games there. This West Coast swing has made them stronger. Whether you could look at the Harper Strickland thing in San Francisco, you look at a heck of a performance in Oakland, where they took 2 out of 3 there, had to hang on, and now taking the first 2 in this series. If you want to hear from you tonight, of course, we'll be talking about Max Scherzer, so feel free to share your thoughts on the Max Scherzer start in the chat room here on the YouTube page. You can also tweet me on Twitter at Rickinator555 or tweet the site on Twitter at District on Deck. But let's look at the totals first. Nationals get 2 runs on 4 hits, 2 errors. Very sloppy game, but the Nats kind of got away with a couple of bad errors. Dodgers 1 run, 4 hits, no errors. Max Scherzer gets the win. He goes to 7-3. Joins Steven Strasburg with 7 wins for the time being. Brandon McCarthy gets the loss. He goes to 5-3. Pitched pretty good, though. That's a hard luck loss for McCarthy. And Coda Glover gets the save, his 8th of the season. And for those who worried about if he was going to have any problems after the game against Oakland 2 days ago, or the soreness he felt that caused him to miss yesterday, your worries were somewhat averted. There's the edge you saw from Coda Glover in the 9th inning. That's why he fits that role extremely well. And you wonder, you look at all these closer candidates on the market with Tony Watson, Kelvin Herrera, who's not fared well as the closer in Kansas City this year, David Robertson, Mark Melancon, who you don't know how much you have to pay for. Again, we're far away from the deadline still. But you have to keep in mind, Glover has fared well in the closer's role. Again, 2 days ago, I kind of look at it, that's Dusty's fault. I don't look at it as Coda Glover's fault. So in save situations, and I know the other day was a save situation technically, but I think Dusty was chasing saves. That was still very impressive what Glover did. But of course, the story tonight is Max Scherzer. His 5th career game, according to Nats PR, with 14 strikeouts and no earned runs. That's incredible. Most guys, you have to get lucky to have one of those starts like that. He's had 5. Remarkable. Here's his line. 1 run wasn't earned, 3 hits, 14 strikeouts, 2 walks, 105 pitches, 73 strikes. Only 6 outs were in play the entire night. That's incredible. And you look at what worked for him tonight, his slider. Slider was unhittable. I mean, the fastball, I thought had good movement on it. Got to 97 at times. Slider, I thought that was his bread and butter pitch tonight. And when Max has his A stuff and everything's working, but the slider was just really good. There were a couple of moments I thought he struggled with Utley, but Utley's not a guy who can strike out easily. Gonzalez, he was having trouble painting the corners, especially early in the game, but he regrouped. I thought the big out was bases loaded in that 3rd inning when Matt Wieters doesn't catch strike 3. I guess he got crossed up with Scherzer and the ball got to the backstop against Bellinger. Bases are loaded. Chris Taylor's up. Scherzer gets the big strikeout, and really that was the only threat the Dodgers had the entire – well, they had a few threats in the game. The Dodgers as a whole went 1 for 10 with men in scoring position. So they've had – despite only having 4 hits, they had their fair share of chances. Just could not come through in the clutch. As I mentioned, Scherzer did not have an out put in play until the 4th inning. That was a Corey, not the 4th inning, the 3rd inning, which is a Corey Seager fly out to center. So it was really the only, for the first 10 outs, they're all strikeouts. And that basically incredible what Max Scherzer was able to do tonight. I keep saying the word incredible. It's tough to find other adjectives. But when you have a late night game and when Max is pitching that well, you don't really need any other adjectives. He's had 3 straight 10-plus strikeout games, 5 of his last 7, 6 10-plus strikeout games this season. And when he's on his A game, it's tough to beat. And that's what makes him arguably one of the favorites to win back-to-back Cy Youngs. He leads the NL in strikeouts by far. We'll see if Kershaw can get closer tomorrow. And he's already 7 strikeouts away from 2,000 for his career. Someone tweeted me that during the game. I didn't even realize that, how close he is to that. So maybe he sets that mark either this weekend against Texas, I think is his next start, or if not, early next week against Atlanta. That could be a possibility. So definitely you love what you see from Scherzer tonight. And, I mean, you're not going to get that every day. So my message is always enjoy these starts from Max Scherzer. They can't miss. And he did enough tonight. Couldn't say enough, but he was really good. As for the offense, did not give any chances. They won this game without getting a single hit with men in scoring position. But they played small ball, and we're used to this offense scoring a lot of home runs, putting up big run totals. But it's great to see them win 2-1 games because they're going to have to win games like that if and when they get to the postseason. Because they got a 12.5 game lead over 3 teams, 12.5 game lead over 2 teams, and 13 over Miami. Unless they collapse, they're going to make the playoffs. But you have to win 1-run games in the postseason on likelihood. And it started right out of the gate in the first inning. Trey Turner gets an infield single. My line on Twitter is always let the speed games begin. Turner steals second, steals third. 2 batters later, Bryce Harper drives him in with a sac fly to left. Makes it 1-0. You then go to the 4th inning. Ended up being a huge insurance run against McCarthy. You get a ground rule double by Harper, just caught the right field chalk. Zim moves over to third. Murphy gets a sac fly, and the Nats take a 2-0 lead, or 2-1 lead. Because Max did allow a run in that first inning, a bad error by Daniel Murphy after a Chase Utley leadoff single. Adrian Gonzalez delivered with a big base hit. But Scherzer got out of it with just the 1 run, and that really set the tone for the game. If the Dodgers had gotten 2 or 3, that would have been tough for Max to sort of go out there and do what he did tonight. And I think you got to tip your cap to Braden McCarthy as well. It was a hard luck loss for him, to say the least. I don't think anybody expected him to pitch that good. So to basically go, I would say toe-to-toe with Scherzer because he didn't have the strikeout numbers, but he was very efficient. 87 pitches in this ball game. 59 for strikes, so a pretty good number. And he had 6 ground ball outs, 5 flyouts, not a bad number as well. So tip your cap to McCarthy, pitched pretty good in this game. Yasiel Puig had the only extra base hit against Scherzer, a double. And on the Nats side, Bryce Harper had the only extra base hit, and that was the ground rule double. So not a lot of extra base hits in this one. Turner's up to 18 stolen bases. Chris Taylor's up to 4. He had that stolen base in the 9th. Both catchers had a pass ball. We talked about Murphy's error. Max Scherzer had a weird error in the 3rd where he had one of those weird, slow pickoff throws, and it got away from Zimmerman, and Utley went to second. Fortunately, nobody scored in that inning, so Scherzer's error did not mean much. Wieder's pass ball doesn't count as an error. I know I kept saying error during the game. It's not an error. It's technically a pass ball. It's separate. Otherwise, on offense, not much else to write about tonight. Ryan Zimmerman's hit streak snapped at 9. Daniel Murphy 1 for 3. Anthony Rendon goes 1 for 3 on his birthday. Happy birthday, Anthony Rendon. And then you look at the bullpen. And the bullpen had to get some big outs last night, whether it was Enny Romero, Matt Albers, and Oliver Perez. Tonight, Oliver Perez came in for the 8th inning and struck out Seager, struck out Gonzalez with 16 pitches, 13 strikes. Oliver Perez was nasty tonight. And you look at what he's done this year. He's getting up runs, I think, in 3 of his games. That's about it. So you've got a lot more of Oliver Perez than I think anybody could have thought. A lot of people wanted the Nats to eat that contract beginning of the season, and you can make a case for it. But he's been good, especially with Sammy Solis in the DL. You got to tip your cap to Perez. He's been solid for them. And then you have, of course, Coda Glover gave up the 1-out single to Chris Taylor, but then he was able to get out of it, gets Forsythe to fly out to the track in right center, and then the big strikeout there to Puig. And Yasiel Puig, Coda did some yelling at Puig too, but Yasiel Puig, he likes to start stuff. I think Coda maybe said a couple of things to Puig that he didn't like. But my words to Puig, as I put on Twitter, too bad. Just want to ball forward. There you go. So the Nats get the win. They go to 37-20. Dodgers are now 35-25. They drop a game back as well in the West as Colorado won tonight. Before we look at tomorrow's pitching matchup, I'm sure you guys are going to be glued to that pitching matchup tomorrow. I won't be here for it. Ron will be here for it. I'm kind of jealous of him for that. But here's what happened in the rest of the division tonight. Before we get to the division, congratulations to Scooter Gennett. 4 home runs tonight, 4 kabooms as the Reds beat the Cardinals 13-1. First Reds player to hit 4 home runs ever. Ties Anthony Rendon with 10 RBIs for the most in the game this year. So congratulations, Scooter Gennett. Well done for the Reds. I think he played left field tonight, which is not used to seeing him play left field. Let's look around the division, though, and see what happened. Phillies and Braves played against each other. Bartolo Colon on the DL for Atlanta today. Philadelphia won 3-1. Aaron Nola got the win. 8 innings, 1 run, 5 hits. He struck out 6. Got his 3rd win of the season. Pat Neshek got the save for the Phillies tonight. Lone RBI for Atlanta from Nick Markakis. Miami was at Wrigley Field against the Cubs. They got blown out big time, 10-2. Jake Arrieta got the win for the Cubs. Anthony Rizzo had a 3-run shot and 4 ribbies. Jason Hayward had 2 RBIs. Javi Baez 2 RBIs, and John Jay 2 RBIs. And the New York Mets, Jacob deGrom got roughed up tonight against the Texas Rangers. Texas won 10-8. Joey Gallo, another long home run, his 17th in the season. deGrom gave up 8 runs on 10 hits in 4 innings. Rough game for him. Mets almost rallied back. They did hit 5 home runs in this game, including 2 off Matt Bush in the top of the 9th, but it was not enough. So the Mets dropped the first of 2 to the Rangers, and they face Yu Darvish tomorrow. So the Nats kind of catch a break. They don't see Yu Darvish this week. And in the District on Deck Bowl, a little inside baseball, Ron's a Red Sox guy. I'm a Yankees guy. Ron's team won tonight 5-4. Masao Tanaka got roughed up. Red Sox bullpen hung on in the end to get the win there. I'm actually going to the Yankee game tomorrow, so that's why Ron is with the Nats Dodgers tomorrow. So let's go around the minor leagues and check out what's happened there today before we look at tomorrow's pitching matchup. Here's what we got. AAA Syracuse rained out tonight against Pawtucket, so no AAA action today. There was AA action as Harrisburg lost to the Altoona Curve 4-3. Altoona hit 3 home runs in this game. John Sims took the loss, 7 innings, 4 runs, 5 hits. He struck out 3. RBIs for Steven Perez, Osvaldo Abreu, and Corbin Joseph. And a 3-hit night for Alec Keller in the loss. Keller plays center field for the Senators, who dropped to 23-33. Potomac, a tough loss. They scored 4 in the top of the 8th to take an 8-5 lead against Frederick earlier today, and they lost 9-8, giving up 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th. Matthew Page, a solo shot in the 2nd. Jack Sumberg had a pair of RBIs. Brian Mejia had a pair of RBIs. And Austin Davidson and Ian Sagdahl. Sagdahl had 2 ribbies. Both those players each over 30 now for the season in terms of RBIs. The loss goes to Mariano Rivera Jr., 4 runs, 5, or Mariano Rivera the 3rd, I think that's not Jr. 4 runs, 5 hits, an inning in the 3rd. In the loss, Nolan Sanborn got the start, gave up 5 runs, 9 hits over 6. Potomac now 26-33. Hagerstown got rained out against Greensboro, but I got an article going up on the Suns tomorrow because the South Atlantic League All-Stars were announced earlier today. If you listen to Masson, you found out who those All-Stars are. I'll have more on them tomorrow morning, but Hagerstown gets 6 position players, including their manager, the pitching coach, and the hitting coach. That's a great honor. The Suns have been arguably the best team in the South Atlantic League this year, so they deserve all those All-Stars. So congratulations to all those players. That All-Star game will be June 20th. And remember, in that league, your first half division champs make the playoffs. So if Hagerstown hangs on, I think they got a 2-game lead right now in their division, they'll make the postseason this year. And they're probably, in all likelihood, unless Potomac has a good second half, the only team that will make the postseason. So good to see Hagerstown get the win. I know, Ron, we're not going to try to do Dominican Summer League that much, but I'll tell you the DSL Nats did lose 5-3 to the Angels today. We don't go too big into that. Auburn will do because that has a lot of the draft picks that you'll see next week. So just, for minor league purposes. Speaking of minor league, we've got a big draft show coming up Thursday night at 9 Eastern during Nats Orioles. Feel free to hop on here to the YouTube channel. I'll be talking with Call to the Pens Benjamin Chase about the draft, about what the Nats might do with the 25th overall pick. We'll get into also what he thinks the Twins might do at number 1. Should the Nats draft for need? Should they draft best player available? We'll talk all those things at the draft. Remember, it's Monday on MLB Network. I believe I'll be doing the first and second round coverage on the website while Ron does the game that night. So we'll be all covered with you for the draft, so feel free to stay tuned to that. That'll be Thursday night at 9. So now we got those particulars out of the way. Let's talk about tomorrow, and I'm sure you guys are all excited for it. I am too. 3:10 Eastern, first pitch. Nats going for the sweep in LA, and that rarely happens. Steven Strasburg takes the mound for the Nats, 7-1 with a 2.91 ERA against Clayton Kershaw, who's 7-2 with a 2.28 ERA. And I wrote about this matchup if you read my 5 to watch a couple days ago. I wrote about both these pitchers, and for good reason. Normally, I'll usually include one pitcher from each team, but I couldn't write about one pitcher without including the other, if that makes any sense. To me, this is a big game for Steven Strasburg. I'm not talking about in D.C. because I think every Nats fan knows how great he is. But this is a kind of game that if he wins and outduels Kershaw, he puts himself in the Cy Young conversation. He went 4-0 in the month of May with an ERA under 3, 43 strikeouts in 5 innings. 5 outings, not 5 innings. But he's done a good job with his changeup this year. As I wrote on the article, according to Brooks Baseball, teams are hitting .83 against changeup this year. So Strasburg has found his pitch. I don't think he needs to strike out 15, but he's rarely gotten to face the Dodgers. Remember, last year the Dodgers beat him in that first game, first loss of the season in July. Justin Turner, who owned Strasburg in his career, remember, not there. He's not healthy right now. So that's a big boost for Strasburg. And the Dodgers offense really hasn't done much in this series, just 3 runs in 2 games. So might be the right time for Strasburg to go up against this team. Meanwhile, for Kershaw, we all know the story. We all know how great he was last year in the postseason. And obviously, this is a tough guy to crack. Teams are hitting just 103 against his breaking ball this year, according to Brooks Baseball. But they give up 2 home runs. Kershaw has given up 4 home runs in his last 2 games. That is something to monitor. Although he did have 14 strikeouts against Milwaukee last time. So maybe if you catch Kershaw on an early afternoon, maybe you get a ball with a plate, you got to take advantage of it. Fun fact, though, going into tomorrow. The Nationals have not hit a home run in the regular season. I don't think they hit one in the playoffs against them last year. But they haven't hit one in the regular season since 2014. That player who hit the home run in 2014 is the guy who's struggling right now a little bit, although he's gotten a hit in each of the last 2 games, is Bryce Harper. Harper's line is 1 for 15, 10 strikeouts against Kershaw in the regular season, but Harper did hit that home run against him in 2014, so he does have that going for him as that one hit. I like the Dodgers slightly in this game, but again, I think you look at this game as house money for the Nationals because they're not expected to win this game. They got their 2 wins. They've won 5 series in a row. They're 17 games over 500. You're going to have at worst a 7-2 road trip, which is very impressive. We always talk about how West Coast trips can define a team, for good or bad. This West Coast trip could springboard them even more, and that's scary to the rest of the league because they, against a bad team like the Giants, a bad team like the A's, and this is a team in the Dodgers you could see in the postseason again. And the Nats have at least handled their own in the first couple games. Have looked impressive doing it, especially with the pitching. Judo Joker chimes in, said, haven't been able to check yet, but I believe Scherzer is tied or leading all 3 Triple Crown stats. Huge lead on strikeouts. That is, I won't know. I don't know exactly, Judo, if he leads all 3, but I would put him right now. You have to put him at the top of the Cy Young conversation. I mean, Kershaw's got a good case. Again, I think Strasburg has a decent case, has a good case if he wins tomorrow, beats Kershaw. Greinke's up there. The kid in Colorado, Antonio Senzatella, is 8-2. He's looked really good. But Max Scherzer, to me, until somebody dethrones him, looks to be the Cy Young guy right now. Again, it's only June. We got a long way to go. But Scherzer definitely is right up there. And Judo also chimes in, even the Nats lose tomorrow, that 2 games say a lot about their chances in the playoffs. I do think they do need to add another reliever or 2. But maybe if you add a depth piece somewhere, maybe add a starter, not an elite starter, but we'll see how they choose to address that down the line. But definitely, you want to beat the good teams, and they've beaten Colorado this year. They've beaten Arizona this year. They'll have a chance to split with Baltimore on Thursday. They've beaten 2 games now with the Dodgers. So when they've gone up against good teams this year, they've done a nice job. We'll see how they do against the Cubs later in the month. I think that's going to be a big test for them, especially against the defending champions. But we can only go with the schedule that you play so far. And I think as far as the teams who we think are going to be good, the Nats have won those series or at least been very competitive in them. Maybe not the Baltimore one. They did have to rally the last game, but we'll see how they do with Joe Ross on Thursday, because Dusty made that official today. It is Joe Ross Thursday night against Alec Asher. So Dusty's going to give him one more shot. He talked about he just wants Ross, and I'm paraphrasing here, to just pitch. Don't worry about velocity. Don't worry about mechanics. And that's what I was telling you guys on Saturday. I think he's got it mentally that he's thinking about all these things. Just go out there and pitch. You don't have to strike out 14. Just go out there and keep the team in the game. That's all he's got to do. We'll see if Joe Ross does that on Thursday. So the Nationals get the win, as I said, 2-1 your final score, and it's all about Max. And we can go all night talking about all the great stats, and I'm sure you've seen them all. And to me, it was just very impressive the entire night. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He said 55, 10-plus strikeout games in his career, which is incredible. And it's just been fantastic to watch. And you look at his last 3 starts. I mean, he out of first pitch strikes, first off, he threw 18 out of 28. And you want to look last 3 times out, he has struck out 38 batters over 24 and 2/3. That's really good. And you always want to have an ace like that in the mound, and the Nats have 2 of them. And Tanner Roark's pitched better, and Gio Gonzalez, I thought, was good last night. So they've got 4 guys pitching really well right now, and that's scary to the rest of the league. And yes, Judo, Max is also leading in WHIP. Good note on that one. So up on the site we have right now, we have an article. Let's take what we got here on the website. Drew Douglas updated you on what's going on in the All-Star voting. Right now, Ryan Zimmerman jumped over Anthony Rizzo at first base. That's great to see. Daniel Murphy still leads at second. Bryce Harper still leads for the outfield. So 3 Nats in position to start the All-Star game. You'd think Scherzer would get there too, and one of maybe Steven Strasburg, if he continues to pitch, will get there as well. Also, Ron writes about Ryan Rayburn making his debut. I like the Rayburn ad when they did it. It's good outfield insurance. Jason Worth, of course, on the DL. The Rayburn Goodwin platoon, you'll see him left field, which isn't a bad idea. I know a lot of people are complaining about them hitting second. I have an article on this coming out, I believe, Thursday. And one thing I want to kind of tease that article with is, who are you putting second? Because right now, with the way Harper, Zim, Murphy, and Rendon are hitting, and you know Dusty Baker's track record, he does not like to mix guys around when they're hitting well. So if you think Bryce Harper should hit second, maybe see more pitches. But even then, I want a guy hitting second that's going to see a lot of pitches and let Trey Turner steal bases, because you can get games like tonight where Turner steals you runs with his speed. So that'll be an article that you'll see on Thursday. Again, Ron will be with you tomorrow afternoon on Twitter, 3:10 game Eastern Coast. So if you're getting out of work or you're at anything, adjust your time schedules accordingly. Ron will be with you on Thursday. I'll be back with you on Friday when the Nationals open up at the Texas Rangers for a 3-game series at Nats Park. Nats will be back home for 6 games. Yep, 6 games, 3 with Texas, 3 at Atlanta. So it should be a lot of fun. So the Nats get the first 2 games here in LA. They have absolutely made a statement here, and they can make a bigger statement with a sweep tomorrow, and that would be a lot of fun if they can do that. But winning 5 series in a row, not getting swept all year, has been impressive for this team, and that's why they're 17 over and running away with the NL East right now. So for all of us here at District on Deck, for Ron Juckett, for Drew, for Frank, for Chris, for all of our District on Deck team, I'm Ricky Keeler saying hope you have a great morning, I should say, because I guess you're listening to this in the morning and not at 1:36 at night, but enjoy. I'm going to go to bed, and we'll see you guys. Ron will see you guys tomorrow for Strasburg versus Kershaw at Dodger Stadium.